Guys, perhaps even more frightening than the pandemic itself is the economic fallout of this pandemic. And I'm going to put this bluntly. The experts, the analysts, they've become abundantly clear. We are heading towards the worst economic crisis of our lifetimes, perhaps in modern American history. We are currently in a recession. That is clear. 2 million Americans and counting were laid off in their jobs in just the last week. 20% of Americans, when polled, said they are now facing either layoffs or cuts in pay. That was just 10 days ago. The stock market is crumbling. The airline industry, restaurants, transportation, anything that requires face-to-face contact, they are all begging the government for bailouts. And this is probably the most scary thing of all. Experts have come out and predicted 10, 15, 20% unemployment in the next couple of months. The head of the St. Louis Federal Reserve predicted 30%, 30% unemployment in the next couple of months. I cannot stress to you how disastrous that really is. Let me give you a comparison. In the Great Depression, where there were bread lines, Hoovervilles, just all out collapse, the peak unemployment rate during the Great Depression was 25%. Some experts are predicting that we're going to overshoot that in just the next couple of months. This is worse, already worse than the Great Recession. Way, 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 way worse. I mean, you're talking about economic collapse. With unemployment over 20%, you're talking about homeless shelters overflowing, food drives running out of food. You're talking about slums. You're talking about chaos in the streets. You're talking about revolt. You're talking about the deterioration of the American system as we know it. So it is easy. It's very easy to sit on the high horse now before shit hits the fan. But we are right at the beginnings of an incredible economic crisis, and we don't know how long it's going to take to crawl ourselves out of it, especially when we are run by a bunch of baboons. Our policymakers are literally a tribe of baboons, especially the Republican Party. Like, this is disgusting. We're in the midst of a pandemic. We're staring down the barrel of the worst economic crisis in modern history. And many of these Republicans are still unable to pull their heads out of their butts and just get over themselves and their corporate corruption. They can't do it. They just had to create another sellout. So what exactly am I talking about? So there was put on the table a $1.8 trillion economic relief package, but the Democrats blocked it. So why? Because over 30% of the money is going as bailout money for huge corporations. And no, I'm not universally opposed to bailouts, specifically for industries that we need to help avoid collapse. But the bailout money under this bill, we don't know where the money is going to be going for 6 months. And it's going to be divvied up as in where the money's going to be going. That's going to be decided by not by Congress, but by the Treasury Department, by Trump's goons. And there's no protections. There's no guidelines for how these companies should spend this money. There's no rules for it. If they wanted to, the money could all go towards stock buybacks or just other schemes to line up their pockets and screw over their workers. It's disgraceful. Because the rest of the bill is full of half measures too. There's expanded unemployment benefits. So if you lose your job, you can avoid going bankrupt. Cool. And there's going to be a one-time payment of $1,200 to families. That's cool. Okay. Here's where the problem lies. For those who are already jobless or already part of the working poor or just barely keeping their heads above water, as in the half of the country who lives paycheck to paycheck, what are they supposed to do? Months into this crisis, when the rent is due, the light bill is due, the water bill is due, they got to get groceries to feed their kids during this quarantine, their pay was just cut. No, we need a moratorium. Evictions, mortgages and bills, utilities, payments, they all need to stop immediately. The economy needs to go on pause and all workers must be protected. So no, a one-time payment and some unemployment insurance, that is not enough. But instead, no, we're going to get corporate half measures. We're going to get corporate welfare, per usual. They're going to give the benefits to the richest and the wealthiest companies, and they're going to expect the benefits to quote unquote trickle down. The problem is it never trickles down. You want to solve this crisis and you want to prevent total economic collapse. You want to make sure that the working class and the unemployed and the impoverished have what they need to survive so that once the virus is contained, everyone can resume business as usual and not have to crawl themselves out of a hole. But no, those logical basic solutions, they don't happen in America. We don't protect our workers. We don't protect average families. We give and give and give to the corporate interests because those corporate interests are the ones who got these politicians elected in the first place. So in all likelihood, those predictions are going to come true because we are taking the exact wrong route in terms of fixing this economic crisis and just the pandemic as a whole. We are going to be seeing 15, 20, maybe even 30% unemployment. We are going to see the literal destruction of our economy, and we're going to see the worst economic crisis in modern American history. And don't take those words lightly. Let me tell you something. You should be scared. You should be scared. You should be frightened. You should be peeing your pants. Over a quarter of this country may go unemployed in the next couple of months. Wages are going to be slashed across the board. The economy is going to be bleeding money long after this pandemic is over. People are going to be angry. They're going to be scared. They're going to be confused. They're going to be as desperate as they have ever been to keep their heads above water. This rigged system is going to bite us squarely in the ass. I repeat, America, you should be scared. But most of all, America, you should be taking notes. See, this is the problem. These are the lessons that we need to be learning. You want to vote for the status quo. You want to vote for the continuation of a rigged system. Look what that rigged system got you. Look what it's getting you right now. Look what it's going to be getting you in the next couple of months. Look what these sellout politicians are getting you. These people that you put in office. When shit hit the fan, the system that we helped prop up at the ballot box, that system is falling apart before our very eyes. Because this system that we have in this country is not built for the good of the people. It's built for the good of the corporate interests who got these leaders elected. It has to change. It has to change. When there's a crisis of epic proportions of which we have not seen in modern American history, the system that we helped create, it's built to, even in that crisis, just sell out and pander and give all they can to the corporate interests who got them elected. So let me tell you something. This is not going to be pretty. Once this crisis is over and the economy collapses to the degree that the experts are saying, you're going to be talking about people revolting, rioting, people out in the streets, bread lines wrapping around the block. You're talking about homeless shelters overflowing. You're talking about slums. You're talking about political unrest. The system will start to fall apart at the seams. And the only thing that will sew it back together is going to be policies that fight for the working class of this country. Universal health care, $15 minimum wage, Green New Deal to create millions of jobs. You're going to need to invest from the bottom up and not the top down. That's the lesson of this crisis. That's the direction that we have to move towards if we're going to fix the economic crisis that's going to come from this pandemic. All right, so I hope that all of y'all are able to keep your heads above water. It's going to get really rough out here. So please just stay safe, everybody. This pandemic is spreading like wildfire. So wash your hands, sanitize, stay at home. You do not want to be the reason that someone ends up in the hospital, loses their life. So stay home. And after this virus is contained, just remember the lessons that I've outlined here for you all today. Remember what's put us in the crisis that we're going to be facing. And also remember the correct ways that we can go about solving it.